Flags, flags, flags. Good job it's December because my team is lit up like a Christmas tree at the moment. So here is my team selection going into game week 16. Now, my defence is looking pretty ropey this week, as I imagine quite a lot of players are at the moment. There seems to be a little bit of a defensive fixture swing for popular defensive assets in the game, basically. So I imagine most people have a defence that's looking a bit ropey. I've got Udogie, Taylor and Lascelles currently starting for me. Mitchell, Cash, Dubravka on the bench. Obviously, Martinez is my keeper. The 1 week, by the way, that I decide to bench Martinez, he keeps a clean sheet against Man City. You couldn't write it. Meant to be the best goalkeeper in the world, and since he's been in my team, he's been a load of rubbish. However, I think Arsenal at home for Villa is a better fixture than Tottenham away for Newcastle. I think personally, I've come to the conclusion that away from home in the Premier League, Newcastle, they're not really that clever. And for that reason, I think I'm just about going to start Martinez in goal. As for the defence, I think I'm going to make a transfer. Lascelles, I think, probably keeps his place for another week. Mitchell's probably the one to go because, well, the next three fixtures, I don't see a hope in hell of basically Crystal Palace keeping a clean sheet. Got a couple of players lined up to replace him with. I'll talk about them now. First up then, and I'm thinking with my heart rather than my head on this one, and Reece James is the player I've got lined up. I've got a bit of cash in the bank, so I can afford Mitchell to James if I wanted to. He didn't actually start the game against Man United in game week 15, so he should play against Everton. Now, of course, he obviously poses an injury risk, right? I'm not going into this completely blind to that. I mean, the guy can barely string 2 games together, let alone be a good FPL pick and play multiple. However, I just feel with, the state of other defenders in the game at the moment, the just severe lack of clean sheets from any teams, going for James and him getting injured, ultimately, the risk is quite low. Because if he gets injured, right, he scores 1 point for appearing in a game. And then, well, that's basically what other defenders are scoring anyway. He just obviously just offers so much attacking threat. 0.29 expected returns per 90. There are some midfielders and strikers in the Premier League that aren't achieving that level of underlying numbers. And yeah, he looked, when he came on against Man United, one of Chelsea's best attackers, bombing down the right wing, getting crosses in really dangerous crosses as well. So Chelsea have got a fantastic fixture run coming up. Well, according to the FPL fixture difficulty rating anyway, a lot of their upcoming fixtures are green. However, I would say the game week 16 fixture away at Everton, it's not an easy one, I'll admit. Same with Wolves in game week 18 as well. They're both classed as green fixtures, but I don't really think they are. However, when you just look at all the other defenders in the game at the moment, bar the likes of Trent and Trippier, I think James is emerging as one of the best. So for that reason, I've really got my eye on him. Next up, following along with kind of the Reece James narrative, Colwill is just a bit more safe and boring, really. A lot cheaper and is probably the most nailed Chelsea defender, I think. Just the fact that you can play left-back, centre-back. Chilwell's out injured. I just think, well, he's not got as terrible an injury record as Reece James, right? So I think Poch is going to start him in more games. I'd also say with Thiago Silva, he's 40 now, he's not going to play all of the games in December, or at least I don't think he is. And for that reason, I think Colwill being able to fill in at both left-back and centre-back will really help him. And I think he's likely to start most games in this December period. A lot of people were touting Badiashile going into game week 15 that he might be, one of Pochettino's favourites to play at centre-back. But he didn't start against Man United. I don't think he's established himself in the team. Like I said, Thiago Silva, I don't think he's going to play all the games. Cucurella is hit and miss as well. I think Colwill is probably the most nailed Chelsea defender. But even then, I'll caveat with that with saying he probably won't play every game. But I do think he's a safer pick than Reece James. You can find out at the end of the video who I'm actually going to go for. On to the midfield then, and I'm really glad I kept hold of Jarrod Bowen with his goal in game week 16, and I don't have to worry about him now. He's got 3 fixtures coming up that he could do really well in. Of course, the narrative with my team, unfortunately Son got injured as well in game week 15, but I don't actually have to worry about him, which I feel quite fortunate about. However, Mbeumo definitely is a player to deal with. Sheffield United was a plum fixture for him, wasn't it? It would have been lovely to have him in my side for that game, but just don't think I can do it. He's going to have to go. Easy switch for me, in my opinion, and I'll tell you the player I got next. Just to cover the rest of the midfielders, I mean, Salah, Saka and Gordon, they're nailed on options, really. Gordon, I'm a little bit less confident away at Tottenham that he can do something. I think he played terribly, to be honest, against Everton, but what can you expect for a 6 million mid, right? You're not going to expect worldy performances and goals every week. You kind of just got to set your expectations for that kind of value, haven't you, I think? But then he's got Fulham and Luton coming up in the next, 3 fixtures. So I think he could be a good option. Here's what I'm going to do with Mbeumo, though. I think I have to apologise for being a bit boring, really, but Cole Palmer just seems like such an easy transfer in. And of all the players at this price point, with the money I can afford for selling Mbeumo, I don't see anyone that appears to be a better option. Considering Palmer saves me about 2 million, I can do so much more with my team in future game weeks if I go for him. He just seems to be nailed in that Chelsea team. Obviously, their penalty taker. And Nkunku, he could come back and start for Chelsea, but I think Palmer keeps his place. And as well, with just how confident he's been with these penalties he's taken, I think he remains the penalty taker. And personally, I really like having an FPL team full of penalty takers. I think it just adds a little bit of extra spice to all the assets, basically. I do think, however, with Palmer, there's a bit of a myth that he's a penalty merchant surrounding him. 4 of the 5 goals he's got, I'll admit, have come from penalties, but he's put up 1.9 non-penalty expected goals, scored from open play against Man United, and he's got 3 assists, so he's definitely proving to be good from open play as well. And the Chelsea fixtures, yes, I don't think they're going to win all these games, don't get me wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're going to score in most of them. And I think Cole Palmer's going to be, front and centre in most of those goals. So I just can't ignore him. Like I said, sorry for being boring, but if you don't have Cole Palmer and are currently sitting on Mbeumo, now's the time to get him. I think there are times in the season in the future where you can hop on differential options and be a bit interesting. But for me, Cole Palmer is just such an obvious option for the upcoming run. You've got to go for him. Up front, there's not a whole lot to decide upon, to be honest, apart from who to captain, and we'll get onto that in a second. Erling Haaland with Luton away. Ollie Watkins obviously has Arsenal, but the fact that fixture's at Villa Park, I think, gives me a lot of confidence in him. I think he could well score in that game. Obviously, Arsenal looking like a really good defence, but they conceded 3 away to Luton, so, anything can happen in that Villa Park fixture with the record that Villa have got. Really like both of these guys as options, and long-term too. Haaland in game week 18 obviously blanks. I think I'm just going to bench him, and then with Watkins, I could just hold him all season and be perfectly happy. Like I said, that final decision to make is just on the captaincy. The fixtures is quite close. The expected points according to Draft Hounds obviously not that close. We can see there Haaland leads by 1 point, but I've talked about this in previous videos, and I'm still a little bit, to be honest, unsure as to who to give the armband to. I think both players have, well, I just feel like Luton at Kenilworth Road are pretty decent, and Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park, they're pretty solid defensively too, and I think both teams will give both Man City and Liverpool tough games. I don't know, with how Man City are playing at the moment, I wouldn't be surprised to see Pep Guardiola just do something absolutely manic with his team and potentially drop Erling Haaland for someone to play as a false 9. I do think he's capable of doing something like that. Salah's, I think, is nailed on to play against Crystal Palace, but in the back of my mind, I've got a feeling that Pep does just something absolutely outrageous with the Man City team, with the record they've got recently, changes it to a forward, like a false 9 that presses really high. I think that'll put Luton under pressure, to be honest, with centre-backs that aren't necessarily amazing on the ball. So he might consider doing that. I don't know, let me know in the comments what you think of that opinion. It might be a bit rogue, but I'm between Haaland and Salah at the moment, but based on the expected points I'm seeing so far, I've got it, as you could see, on Haaland. And here's what I'm going to do with my team. Going to start with Martinez in goal, Udogie and Lascelles at the back. Cash could come in, but I'm a little bit unsure as to whether he's going to start. I've gone for James and Palmer as my transfer in. I just like the upside that Reece James brings. I think Chelsea are probably going to concede against Everton, to be honest. Feels a bit mad bringing in a defender that I think might concede, but I don't think there are going to be many clean sheets to go around in game week 16, to be honest. I just like the attacking upside that Reece James brings above Colwill. And then Palmer in my midfield, like I said, he's a locked-in transfer for me. 61.1 expected points. Be very happy if I got anywhere near that. 1.9 million in the bank. Lascelles is going to have to go soon. Botman's going to start for Newcastle. That's the player I'm going to get out next. Well, and that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please leave me a like rating. Let me know in the comments what you think I should do with my team, if you agree or disagree with any of my thoughts I've put in there. I'm going away this weekend, so I won't be live for a deadline stream on Saturday, just in case you're expecting to catch me live. So sorry, I won't be live this weekend, but I am planning to get a video up from my hotel on Sunday morning. So look forward to that once I react to some of the Saturday football. And yeah, I'll catch you then. Catch you on Sunday. Subscribe just there.